Hey guys, welcome to this week's FAQ and Freebie Friday. Now for those of you new to the YouTube channel, these videos are all about answering your health related questions. So if you have a question concerning your health, something regarding health in general, diet or nutrition, Chinese medicine, herbalism, supplements, or really anything related to health and wellness, and you would like our help in answering your questions, all you have to do is leave those questions in the comment section below, and we'll be answering those based on popularity. The questions that we feel be the most beneficial to the group overall, and of course the questions that we are capable of answering. And something else really great about these videos is that every week from the comment section, we select one lucky person to win a free bag of tonic herbs or medicinal mushrooms. So even if you don't have a health question for us this week, but you're interested in winning some free herbs or mushrooms, all you have to do to be entered to win is make sure that you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, you've given this video a thumbs up, and then just drop any comment in the comment section below. With that being said, let's get to this week's questions. Alright, so looking at our first question, this question reads, why do I wake up feeling tired even though I get 8+ hours of sleep every day? So this is actually quite common, especially in our high stress society, and it even has its own medical term, which is non-restorative sleep. So a condition referring to getting enough sleep perhaps, but not getting deep restorative sleep. And there's a basic reason for this, and it's ultimately related to stress. So a couple of things to understand is that when you're sleeping, first and foremost, your sleep goes in cycles. So there's a cycle of action that's occurring while you're sleeping. And one of the most basic reasons that people wake up tired despite the amount of time that they're sleeping is because they're waking up in the middle of a sleep cycle. And actually, when you look at the standard 8 hours of sleep, this is actually counterproductive to the amount of time it takes to complete a full cycle of sleep, which is about 1.5 hours. So getting 8 hours of sleep would actually mean that you're waking up right in the middle of a sleep cycle, which will cause you to feel very groggy and tired. So in terms of timing your sleep, what's probably more important than the amount of time that you're getting, or equally as important, is that you're getting a complete cycle of sleep. So according to this idea, I think it's actually better that you try to get more around maybe 6 hours of sleep or a little bit more than 8 hours to make sure you're getting complete sleep cycles and not waking up in the middle of them. And I think really the only practical way to go about doing this is to just give yourself enough time to sleep, whether that's waking up sooner than expected or giving yourself a little bit of wiggle room to wake up later than expected. So I think what's really problematic in terms of getting good quality sleep and waking up rested is we live in a high-paced society that is ruled by time, and most people, probably 9 out of 10 people, have to wake up to an alarm clock, and they're giving themselves that 8 hours of sleep with really not much time to go over that. So something that could be really beneficial if you have to wake up at a certain time would be to try to get to bed a little bit earlier than expected and give yourself an extra half hour to wake up. So rather than trying to force your body to wake up at a certain time, which might interrupt one of your sleep cycles, let's say you have to wake up at 8 in the morning, rather than setting the alarm clock right at 8 o'clock and hoping to be expected to wake up at that time to get your full 8 hours, try to get to bed a little bit earlier, so that way hopefully your body can naturally wake up before your alarm clock even has to go off, and have the alarm clock just sort of be a safety net, so that way you don't sleep past that time. But the general idea is that rather than trying to set the alarm clock right at the 8-hour mark where you're waking up right at 8 hours of sleep, give yourself plenty of wiggle room so hopefully your body is waking up naturally before you would need to get up according to the alarm clock. And the purpose of this is that more than anything else, your body's going to know when it's gotten enough sleep or not, and it's going to tell you by waking you up naturally at a certain time. And chances are that when your body naturally wakes you up, you're going to feel more rested than when you force your body to get up, whether that's forcing your body to get up too soon, not getting enough sleep cycles overall, or just forcing your body to wake up in the middle of a cycle. So now obviously not everybody has the luxury of waking up kind of whenever they want, but we all have the ability to get to bed early enough to give our bodies more than enough time to get enough sleep before we have to wake up. So that's something that I think that's going to be really important, just giving your body the amount of time it needs to sleep. And unfortunately, a lot of people are really stressed out and they need probably more than 8 hours of sleep. So if that's the case, make sure you're getting to bed a lot earlier. There's a lot of other factors though that can cause non-restorative sleep. Hormonally or chemically speaking, this is related to stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. So these stress hormones tend to rise while you're sleeping because of the fact that while you're sleeping, it's typically very dark, there's not much light out, your metabolism's slowing down. Under the presence of darkness, there's going to be a greater secretion of serotonin and melatonin, which will also antagonize cortisol, causing your cortisol levels to rise. So most of the time when you wake up and you feel completely tired, it's because you didn't really sleep thoroughly through the night. You might not have woken up, but your body was probably unrested, and this is likely related to a cortisol spike or an adrenaline spike while you're sleeping. So the simplest way to regulate this, and something that I've done personally and I recommend to people and it works sort of like magic, is if they're experiencing non-restorative sleep or if they're waking up in the middle of the night or waking up exhausted, is that before they go to bed, take a tablespoon of raw honey with a liberal pinch of salt on the raw honey and eat that. That will help to replenish your liver glycogen and help to keep any sort of adrenaline from spiking in the middle of the night. So this is going to be very beneficial for inhibiting any stress response from occurring before you go to bed. You could also try something like ashwagandha before bed to help put your body in a more relaxed parasympathetic state to avoid a stress response in the middle of the night while you're sleeping. So obviously these are just a couple of tips. There's plenty of other things that are important to understand that are involved in the process of rejuvenative sleep, but I think that these are some of the more important things to consider. So try to give your body more than enough time to get the sleep that it needs, and try to give your body the opportunity to wake up naturally, and don't just push it the last minute. If you're trying to get a full 6 to 7.5 or 8 hours, then just make sure that you're going to bed early enough to where your body could wake up naturally before that alarm clock goes off. And then the other thing is try taking a tablespoon of raw honey with a good pinch of salt on it to help make sure that your body doesn't secrete cortisol and adrenaline while you're sleeping. But also, there's tons of other things. You have to consider the difference between being tired and being sleepy. So being sleepy just means your body's sleep deprived. It's not getting restorative, rejuvenative sleep. Being tired is usually related to something else, usually something in your life that you're tired of, something that's draining your energy other than not getting restorative sleep. And a key example of this, and why I think a lot of modern people, especially in the Western world, are always tired, chronically tired, is because of ambition. So in America or in the West, ambition is something that is glorified and praised. If you're not ambitious, something's off with you. However, my mentor has defined ambition as a condition where one's desires exceed their competence or ability. So meaning that you set this really massive goal, almost an unattainable or very difficult to achieve goal, and every day you're trying to reach for this goal, but it's outside of your means, so you're failing, and that will make you tired. Trying to achieve something that you just can't achieve in that moment will make you feel exhausted, it will decrease your energy, lower your morale and overall happiness. So I've noticed in my personal life and an observation that some of the happiest people with the greatest levels of energy are people that are living within their means and not giving themselves unrealistic goals. And unfortunately, in our society, these people are sort of looked down upon and sort of pitied as people that aren't living a good life or that aren't successful. However, success is something that's subjective, defined by you, and I would personally rather achieve easily attainable goals, things that are true to myself, and have a robust amount of energy from that, than try to achieve a goal outside of my means that's really just success defined by somebody else's terms. So I know this is a bit more philosophical, esoteric sounding, but there is a difference between being sleepy and being tired. And most people that I see, they're not just sleepy, they're tired. They're tired of trying and failing at things that they don't really want to do in the first place, just to, fit into the societal norm or to conform in a way. And this is really all that stress is. Stress is wanting to do something but not wanting to do it. Going to a job you don't want to be at, but you have to go there because you just have to make the money. So any sort of stress is an intention met by a counter-intention, and that's going to make you tired. So in addition to, trying to apply these tips in regards to getting better sleep, I would also consider the things in your life that are making you tired, the things that you are doing that you don't want to do, vice versa, and decide to either just stop doing it or decide to commit to it 100%. In the words of my mentor, don't want, just do. If there's something you want to do, stop wanting. Wanting is the stress, because wanting is implying that you don't have it and you're not doing it. So don't want, just do something. If you want to quit your job, don't want to, just quit. Or commit to it fully and find reasons to be in that job and stop countering yourself with the intention of leaving. So just as an example, if there's stress in your life, it's likely related to these factors that are draining your energy. And that could be another reason that you're feeling tired all the time, aside from the physiological imbalances that can occur from non-restorative sleep. But getting back to the physiology of this, as I talk about so often, the thyroid gland is what drives the production of cellular energy. So fatigue, low energy, feeling tired could just be a sign of a thyroid imbalance, which yes, could be induced by the lack of good quality sleep and high stress levels as a result. But remember, psychological stressors, the stressors I'm describing in terms of being tired by your lifestyle, could also be inducing a stress and lowering thyroid function. So these are just, a couple of ideas to consider. Obviously, the easier thing to do right now is just to practice better sleep hygiene, get to bed earlier, which is obviously easier said than done, but something super simple and pragmatical you can implement right now is that honey, that ashwagandha, and that salt before bed to at least inhibit the stress response while you're taking proactive steps to modulate your entire life and environment to something that is non-stressful and more enjoyable than it is not. All right, moving along, getting to our second question. This question reads, how to get more beard growth? All right, so this is actually a question that we've received a couple of different times on the FAQs, so I just decided I'll answer it to the best of my ability. I do have a pretty decent understanding about what drives beard growth as I do what's driving overall hair growth in the body. There's a couple of obviously unique differences. I think one of the reasons, and we'll get to this in a moment, that people don't necessarily lose their beards, even if they're losing their hair elsewhere, or if they're growing body hair, is because there's no calcium receptors in the beard. So the beard hair follicles are less susceptible to things like calcification that could be leading to fibrosis and causing the beard to fall out. So I think that's one reason that people can go bald but grow a beard. So aside from that, there are, I think, genetic factors. I do think that, no matter how healthy a person is or what they're doing hormonally, the way in which, their hair is going to grow is always going to be somewhat unique. Even at my healthiest, my hair is just generally finer. I don't have, super thick or coarse hair. Same with my beard. My beard isn't like the fullest all around, no matter how healthy I am. However, I've experienced on a raw vegan diet that when my testosterone levels plummeted to next to nothing, along with my DHT, that I stopped growing a beard. So, I have a pretty decent beard. It's decently full. It comes in almost 100%, probably more like 95%. But what's interesting is that when I did do a raw vegan diet, I got to a point where my testosterone levels were so low, my beard just stopped growing. I looked like a 15-year-old in a way, which some people might think would be good and sort of anti-aging. But considering all the other symptoms, the loss of libido and sex drive, the loss of energy, the loss of my muscularity, and the loss of my beard, that something was not right, hormonally speaking, and my health was not optimal. With that being said, I do know that, genetics do play a certain role in, let's say, the color of the hair to a degree, the texture of it, the thickness of each individual hair strand. However, there are so many things that are affecting it epigenetically speaking. So that's a term that's talking about how your environment, your diet, your lifestyle, your surroundings affect your genetic expression. And this is something I've seen so many different times through my various experiments with my diet and lifestyle. I've seen myself get more defined jaw, again, grow like a really nice beard and then not be able to grow it. I've seen my hair color change dramatically. I've seen just my overall appearance change so often, so frequently. If you've been following the YouTube channel for any length of time, you've probably seen me look 5 different ways over the course of time. So it is true that your diet, your lifestyle, various things that affect your hormonal balance will affect your genetic expression. And there are things you can do, I think, to improve the growth of the beard. So with all of this being said, getting to the tips, the most important thing for beard growth is high levels of DHT. So this is obviously a controversial sort of topic. There's a lot of confusion around DHT because of the hair loss industry saying that DHT is what causes hair loss. If you haven't yet enrolled in our Forever Healthy Hair course and you're not a student in that course, then you haven't yet heard us talk about the whole DHT myth. There's a really great video in that course where I debunk the whole DHT myth and talk about how it's actually a very potent protective androgen hormone. As I've mentioned before in the YouTube channel, it antagonizes the stressful effects of estrogen. And in fact, one of the reasons that DHT and other androgens rise in conditions like male pattern baldness or PCOS, or even conditions like hirsutism, where women are growing facial hair and men are growing body hair excessively, is because of the high levels of estrogen that drive these conditions, and the DHT increases to buffer the effects of estrogen. So the fact of the matter is, and to not get too in-depth about the misconceptions around DHT and its roles in health and disease, is that DHT is a protective substance and it's directly related to youth and health. It's one of the key hormones that actually declines with sickness, stress, and aging. And what's interesting, and something that sort of debunks or at least poses a question for the whole DHT theory of hair loss, is that typically people with hair loss or losing their hair or bald have low levels of DHT, whereas when people have the healthiest heads of hair and the most of it, they have higher levels of DHT. So this is because of the fact that DHT does govern growth in the body. It is a growth hormone and it directly stimulates the growth of the beard hair. It improves overall metabolic function by improving the function of the thyroid hormone. It has a positive effect on bone metabolism, which is why usually people with high testosterone and DHT have a really chiseled, strong jawline, more muscularity and muscular definition. It's going to improve your overall mood and energy. And usually a deficiency in DHT results in the opposite of all these things. A hard time putting on muscle, depression, low energy, thyroid issues, problems with growing a beard. And I have very direct experience on this. As I said, when I was a raw vegan for 2 years, I couldn't do any of these things. I couldn't grow a beard, which was really interesting because I used to be able to. I couldn't put on any muscle. I was depressed, low energy, low sex drive, low thyroid. And a lot of this has to do with the levels of DHT in the body. So with that being said, if you want to grow a good beard and have a chiseled jawline and just have good metabolic function overall, especially as a male, you want to increase your DHT levels. And as long as your thyroid's working well and your estrogen's low, you won't have to worry about DHT causing any sort of hair loss. But again, if you want to learn more about the truth of DHT and hair loss, just check out the Forever Healthy Hair course, which you can find in the description box below. Otherwise, here are a couple of quick tips for increasing DHT, and I'll make a video on this in the future. So the first thing you're going to want to do is manage your estrogen and specifically get a handle on the aromatase enzyme in the body. So when your estrogen levels are high for whatever reason, from diet, from drinking, from estrogenic herbs or medications, or from having too much body fat, what tends to happen is your testosterone will aromatize into estrogen rather than DHT. So using herbs like nettle root are going to be very beneficial for optimizing your DHT levels and preventing testosterone from turning into estrogen. So with that being said, another tip related to regulating estrogen and preventing the aromatization of testosterone into estrogen rather than DHT would be to increase your lean muscle mass and lose any excess body fat. Excess body fat is going to cause your body to store more estrogen, which will likely increase the aromatization of test into estrogen rather than DHT. Not to mention, studies have shown that an increase of body fat, particularly if it's polyunsaturated, that this can cause the DHT in your body to break down into a less potent form, meaning that the DHT in your body isn't going to have the same cellular effect that you want it to have. And one simple way to do this, to achieve a more ideal body mass or fat mass and increase lean muscle, which will optimize your DHT levels, would be to do some sort of strength training. So we talk about this a lot. Strength training that is low exertion, where you're not hyperventilating, is the best form of exercise. to maximize your hormonal balance. So increasing your lean muscle mass is going to increase your androgen production. Lean muscle is a direct site or source for the production of androgens like testosterone and DHT. And 2 final tips for increasing your DHT would be to eat more calories, specifically from healthy saturated fats. This is important because the saturated fats will help your body to create more androgens and DHT, but also avoiding the polyunsaturated fats are going to be beneficial because they are known to decrease both testosterone and DHT and are estrogenic. The other thing, and the simplest thing that you can do, would be to take creatine monohydrate, which is known to increase mitochondrial respiration, the production of ATP, and of course, DHT. So in terms of growing a better beard, the goal is to really optimize your hormones, lowering estrogen and increasing testosterone and DHT. And now you have a couple tips to get you started there. But I would definitely check out our healthy weight loss course for a more well-rounded, complete protocol, which will help you achieve this goal and many other goals. All right, guys, that brings this week's FAQ and Freebie Friday to a close. Remember, if you're interested in winning some free herbs or mushrooms, all you have to do is subscribe to the YouTube channel, give this video a thumbs up, and then just leave your comments or questions in the comment section below. For those of you interested in learning more beyond this YouTube channel, referencing any of the studies or the herbs I might have shared in this video, you can find links to those along with links to our online wellness academy and our blog in the description box below.